Hello, hello. Welcome to our webinar today, helping students to make better decisions in personal finance and in life. We are so happy to have you join us for this webinar. We know your time is precious and we really appreciate you hopping on today. If you're having any audio issues, please check your device's audio settings. Now is the time to figure that out. If you have questions during this presentation at any time, our presenter Ruth has said she would love to answer those. So go ahead and drop those in the chat. We will have a moderator, Mallory, and myself, Natalie, answering questions and then also letting Ruth know when she has questions from y'all. And as usual, please reach out to us anytime on social media or at Teach Banzai or visit banzai.org. So, as I said, today's webinar is helping students to make better decisions in personal life and in finance. And we have Ruth Cookson with us, Senior Manager for Educational Content at the Council for Economic Education. And a little background on Ruth. She has spent over 30 years in education, starting as a high school social studies teacher and later as the director of the Old Dominion University Center for Economic Education, where she conducted workshops and developed curriculum for grades K to 12, helping teachers better integrate economics and financial literacy into their lessons. Recently retired from the classroom, she's continuing her mission to make econ and personal finance accessible and exciting as a senior manager for educational content at the Council for Economic Education. And I met Ruth for the first time at the Maine Jumpstart Coalition event, probably I think in May, and heard her present about this topic and knew that we wanted to bring it to the teachers. So yeah, we're so excited to have Ruth with us. And Ruth, take it away.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and pull my slides up. Okay, so there's my email address, rcookson at Council for Econ Ed. That first picture is sort of my glamour shot picture. Here's me actually at the Maine airport with a moose behind me. This is the picture I took when I landed, and I sent it to my colleagues because on Econ EdLink, the page that comes up that's like the broken link, it has this huge moose on it. So I thought that was pretty funny. So anyway, let's go ahead. We are going to be talking about decision-making skills today, and the idea of choices and decision-making is the foundation for economics and personal finance. And really, the definition of economics is the science of how people make decisions when faced with a scarcity of resources. Those resources don't have to be land, labor, and capital. If we're talking about personal finance, we're talking about resources like money, like education, like space, like time. So those choices and why we make those choices are so important to understanding economics and personal finance. So here's one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite people, Eleanor Roosevelt. "I am who I am today because of the choices I made yesterday." So talking about decisions and decision making, I want to start off with a Mentimeter word cloud. So you can go to menti.com and use the code that's up here. Oops. The 6635980, or you can point your device if you're on a laptop and you have your cell phone, you can also go to the QR code there. So what I want you to do is you can do two different ones. There's a 25 character limit, but what choices did you make today? So when you head to that Mentimeter to do the word cloud, what I want you to do is you can do two different ones, but what choice did you make today? Because again, we believe economists, people that study finance as well, we live our life by making choices. And as Eleanor Roosevelt said, the choices I make yesterday influence who I am today. So what choices did you make today? So don't panic. I'm going to actually go to the Mentimeter site, and you're going to see the code and everything back here in a couple of minutes. All right, you can see I've got some people responding. Usually I don't show the word cloud because I feel like sometimes if you see a word, then you type it in and it kind of skews it. So we'll go ahead and give you a couple more, give people a couple more chances to go in and think about, and this could be a choice, it could be an important choice or just, what did you do today? And how did you make that, what choice did you make? You made a choice to come to this webinar. Don't put that. Or you could have already, but again, didn't want to skew that. So take about 30 more seconds or so. You can use that QR code. You can also go to menti.com and put the code in, the one that's there at the top of the screen, 66359803, and it should take you to our poll here. I've got about 12 people responding, so the 30 of you that are here, come on, go ahead, do it. It's okay. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and you can keep uh participating. You can keep putting your choices in, and we can see it in real time as it's moving around. We've got 10 out of 15, so we're looking at another 5 people to think and add, and here we are seeing it change as well. Let's see if I can. So, what to eat? And isn't that great? Like, what are you having for dinner? What are you eating for lunch? What are you eating for breakfast? I think that's probably even going to be even bigger than what to eat is, because we've got lunch in a couple places, we've got breakfast in a couple of places, you know, exercise, drinking, what to wear, love, show up as my best self. So we live our lives by making choices, which is exactly what I've said before. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more time, as I've got a couple more people that wanted to add something here. You chose to teach, to take the webinar, be present, show up again, show up as your best self, go to the grocery store, get up and go to work. There we go. Drink water instead of soda or pop. Someone from the Midwest out there. Nice. Okay. So let me go ahead and I'm going to turn off responses. And we're going to go back to my PowerPoint. So those decisions that you made, some of them were things that we don't even think about, that we just do automatically, right? The economics of decision making is that the rational person may balances the costs and benefits of a decision before it's made. But sometimes, that idea of rational is changing, and the science and the research for economics is moving towards behavioral economics, where the actor is irrational and we don't weigh costs and benefits, but we want our students to make good decisions, and we want them to think about those decisions before they make them. So we're going to be talking about 2 decision-making models here. So this is the purpose of why we're looking at this, right? We're going to use a decision-making model to better understand choices people faced in the past, right? So why did I make the decision I made? We want to use it to analyze outcomes of the decisions that people have already made. So what decisions did people make? Why did they make them? And then what was that outcome? So going back to my Eleanor Roosevelt quote, the idea that it affects the choices we make in the past affects our future too, right? We can't change those choices that we made in the past. We can only look back and reflect on them and change our behavior going forward. And then to see a problem from a variety of perspectives. A decision-making model slows us down so that we can get a variety of perspectives and consider those consequences before a choice is made. So I'm going to just go very quickly over some definitions of vocabulary. A benefit is what satisfies your wants. Benefits are what is gained when an action is taken or a choice is made. So the benefits are the good things that we get. This is what we gain from the decision that we're making. This one is kind of straightforward. It's costs that kind of trip us up a little bit. A cost is something that you give up when you decide to do something. This is our effort, our loss, our sacrifice, and costs. A lot of times students take this very literally, that it is the price, but it is not just the price, because it's not only money that you give up when you make a decision about buying something, right? You're giving up other things as well. That idea that there's no such thing as a free lunch, because if someone's paying for your lunch, you are also paying with your time, effort, expectations of repaying in the future, those kinds of things. So make sure that students understand that cost is not just price, but it's any effort, loss, sacrifice. And then more importantly, one of the important, again, the foundation of decision making is based on opportunity cost. It's what's given up when a choice is made. It's our second choice. So this idea that we have to give something up when we make a choice, it's really important to understand, what are we giving up? Did we make that right decision? Because whenever you make a choice, you're actually making two choices. Two. The first one is because whenever you choose to do one thing, you are also choosing not to do something else, your second choice, right? What you choose not to do is your opportunity cost. So if you made a decision to be here today, you also made a decision to not do something else during the hour of this webinar. So what would you have been doing if you were not here with me? That's your opportunity cost. So maybe you gave up the chance to do some food shopping, to make dinner, to grade some papers, to go work out, to enjoy time with family. So when you make that choice, you're choosing to do something, and you're also choosing not to do your second choice. So opportunity cost is not everything else. Opportunity cost is your second choice, right? Because if you had this hour to attend this webinar, you couldn't also work out, go food shopping, spend time with your family, and cook dinner, right? All during that 1 hour. Maybe you'd portion it up, but you can't do everything you wanted to do. What did you give up? What was your second choice? And we're going to be talking about opportunity cost a lot during this hour. So why are these skills important? Economic decision-making focuses on considering costs and benefits of a decision or choice before you make the decision, slowing us down and slowing our students down so that they think. They can help our students think about all the possibilities and consequences of the decision, right? If you're doing this quickly, you're probably not going to get every possibility and all the information that you need to make a good decision. It helps students think critically about a choice that was made in the past, or costs and benefits before a choice is made in the future. And this idea of thinking critically and using cost-benefit analysis or decision-making analysis teaches our students an important life skill. And this is something that they're going to use whether they're in your personal finance class or your history class, your government class, science. You can use this anywhere. So it's a really good tool to have in your toolbox as a teacher, no matter what subject you're teaching. So we're going to look at two, cost-benefit decision grid and a PACE decision-making model. So we're going to do the cost-benefit decision grid first. Right? So a cost-benefit decision grid is your traditional pro-con list, right? We use this tool for deciding a yes or no decision, whether an action should be taken by comparing its benefits and costs. So this is our yes, no, right, decision, and you're going to create a T-grid that looks like your traditional pro-con list, right? Pros on one side, cons on the other. It's just a T, but we're going to be looking at costs and benefits instead of pros and cons. So this is what a decision grid looks like. And what I want you to do, and here is our decision. This is our yes, no. So should I attend this webinar? We are looking at the costs and benefits of a decision that you made in the past to attend this webinar. Right? So on a scrap piece of paper, draw this T-grid and add one cost and one benefit to your grid. And remembering that costs are what we give up and the benefits are what we're going to gain, hopefully, by the end of the hour. So you all made this decision to attend this webinar, right? But how many thousands decided not to? Or even the 100 or so, about 150 people that registered and versus the ones that are here attending live. So again, that cost benefit decision, hopefully with your costs and benefits, the benefits are outweighing the costs. All right. And if you want, you can put some of these in the chat, or even better, I would love it if you took yourself off mute and tell me one cost and one benefit.
I don't think that participants can unmute themselves, but I can.
Oh,
And I would
okay.
say, so a benefit for me, this is obviously my job, so me showing up is a really important part of my day. Cost, let me think. I guess just I'd be working on a different work project instead. So time to create a different worksheets we're working on for a financial wellness assessment is the cost. Benefits is, continuing to meet my job requirements.
Not
And then
getting
also
fired.
not getting fired. And also I get to hear from you again because I loved your presentation.
There you go. And if you don't want to pull people off chat, we can off mute, we can go ahead and just have people put them in the chat too.
Yeah, that's great. If everyone just wants to jump it into the chat. Okay, so we've got April giving us a different
Gaining
people chiming in
knowledge
there.
versus sleep time, not grading. Some people, this is a lower cost. It just depends. Free time, benefits, resources, and ideas, learning something new. The opportunity to gain knowledge, helping take care of my 2-year-old is a cost. Missing a staff meeting, that's probably not a too high of a cost, I'm thinking. Time ordering supplies, learning to support students, something new. This is awesome. So going back to the rational decision maker, the reason that you are here right now is because your benefits outweighed your costs, right? What that science of decision making, economists look at people, how they make decisions, and you make a decision because the benefit outweighs the cost. So for you, your benefits outweighed the costs. For almost everybody, for other people that are not here, their costs were much higher, so they're not here. Oof. Some have very high. So Melinda using break time of her second job to gain some knowledge. So we've got that cost and benefit. Excellent. Thank you. So you've weighed your costs and benefits. You all are here. So hopefully the benefits are going to outweigh the costs. If the costs are too high, then and when you're doing this with students, it's not going to equal out, right? You're going to have a list of benefits, you're going to have a list of costs. The students are going to want to say, hey, I've got 5 benefits and 2 costs, so that means I should make this decision. But for when you're doing this, and again, when we also use the other decision grid, some benefits weigh more than others. Some costs weigh more than others. Some costs, if the one cost of not being home with your child or not being able to work that second job, that one cost may outweigh all the benefits that you can list on that right-hand side. So, will the benefits of my choice outweigh the costs? And then again, what was given up when you made your choice? That intentional analysis of opportunity cost. Back. Yeah. So think now, take a second and think, what was your second choice, right? As your opportunity cost. And if you're thinking, wow, I should really be doing that second choice, then you feel free. You're good. No, I'm not gonna say, go ahead. This is gonna be videotaped, but hopefully, no, you're here and hanging out with me. So let's go ahead and how can you use this in your classroom? Remember, this is a simple yes or no question. So should I rent a limo for the prom? Costs, benefits, right? Should I buy Disney stock? Okay, so that didn't age well, but um, yes or no, right? For investing. Should I start my own business? Cost benefit. That's this decision grid of a yes, no question. Should I buy a new car? Right? Those are all content examples of places where you can have students just draw a T and look at those costs and benefits. They can get into groups or share with a shoulder partner, right? To be able to see where the compare their answers. And again, one of the things with decision making is that there's no right or wrong answer. So you're not going to be able to use this and be able to easily grade it, but it's that process. And and I'm going to talk about this with the PACE decision grid, is using this to create a writing prompt or an exit slip of, why did I make this decision, or what happened with your cost benefit analysis, right? What were you, a yes or a no for this question, and why? And having students think through that process. So our second tool is a PACE decision-making model. One of the, I'm going to first, sorry, the examples that I'm showing, the PowerPoint, the handouts and everything, they're all going to be available to you at the end. They're all on Econ EdLink, which is this resource site for the Council for Economic Education. And there's also a lesson for cost benefit analysis about whether a young person should rent an apartment or should they stay home. So having them do cost benefit analysis of whether that person should rent an apartment or not is a nice transition from this one that's maybe not as having a cost benefit analysis example. That's a simple one for you to use to introduce, like, should I come to class today, right? Should I brought my lunch from home? Should I buy a limo for the prom? Those things. So the PACE decision making model is our second tool, and this one is a little bit not more complicated, but it gets an in-depth, deeper look at your decisions. So this is a tool used when deciding among various choices or alternatives. So if the yes or no, cost benefit analysis T-grid. But if you have more than one answer, so instead of should I buy a new car, it's which car should I buy? Then you would be using a PACE decision-making model, right? You're going to use this, you're going to be comparing the costs and benefits of alternatives within this grid. So using a PACE decision grid, which college should you attend? So that's our question. And I'm going to walk you through how to use the grid using this scenario. So you've decided on an economics major, you filled out your applications, and you accepted at your top 3 choices for college. Yay! Good job. They are big city U, small private college, and elite university. So each one of these has some factors here of where you're going to try and identify the costs and benefits of each. Yeah, but you're having a difficult time making a decision, deciding between these three things. So you've gone to your friend who knows all about decision making and asked for some help. So you are that friend. What should you help your friend? How should you help your friend decide on which college to attend? So how do you decide? And this is where that idea of PACED comes in, because it is an acronym, PACED. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify the problem. That's our P. Then you're going to list the alternatives or choices. So this is why if more than one thing, right? There's our 3 colleges. Those are our alternatives or choices that we have. And then you're going to state the criteria. And criteria is going to be a word that might stop your students up, but it just means what do you value? What's most important to you in making that decision? That's the criteria. Then you're going to evaluate the alternatives. This is where you're weighing the costs and benefits. And then D, you're going to make a decision. So problem, alternatives, criteria, evaluate, and then decide. That's our PACE decision making, PACE decision grid. So first of all, our P is state the problem. So what's our problem, right? Which college should you attend? There's our P. Sometimes when you have a decision to make, clarifying what the problem is going to help you make that decision. So you might not know what it is until you sit down and realize, okay, what are the problem I'm working on? What's my question? And then putting it in question form helps you narrow down your alternatives and helps you with that decision making. So here's our 3 alternatives. A, list the alternatives. Big city U, small private college, and then elite university. And then if I'm doing this in a class or with students or with teachers where we're there in person, I would ask them, what's your criteria? What you think is most important when deciding on which college to attend? So there's a reading involved with this where students already know what the student's criteria is. So we've already got those in the reading. And that is state their criteria. There's our C. And it is low cost. So your friend wants to make sure that they're not spending too much money on college. So low cost is important for their decision. Another important criteria for the decision is they want a high quality education. And then the third thing they're going to consider is that they want to stay close to home. They don't want to go far away. They want to be close to their friends and family. So these are the 3 things that are our criteria. So let's take a look at Big City U. Big City U has a low cost, right? They've gotten some scholarships, but they still have to borrow money to go. So what you want to do is our next step is evaluate it on a scale from 3 to 1. Now this could be 5 to 1, it could be 10 to 1, it could be 100 to 1. Those numbers are whatever you want them to be. I'm just using 3 to 1 here. So for Big City U, it's a low cost, but they still have to take out a loan. So we're going to give this a 2 because it's not free, but it's not really, really expensive. Our second criteria is high quality education. So Big City U has a really good economics department, right? But the classes are pretty large. And especially those intro classes, they're not going to get the student is worried about about being one of many instead of getting one-on-one attention. So really good high quality education, but the classes are big. So we're going to give that a 2 as well. Big City U is right there in their hometown. So we're going to give that a 3 because it is very close to home. Now, my numbers might be different than your numbers. And when you're doing this with students, again, it's not getting the correct number. It's the process and doing that high level critical thinking of trying to decide where that number should be. So small private college, again, it costs more initially, but the student is able to get grants and scholarships so that the cost is the same as Big City U. So we're going to give that a 2. And it's okay. It's not a 1, 2, 3. You're judging each criteria only based on the alternative, not on the other. So it's okay to have 2 alternatives be weighed the same. That's fine. So high quality education, one of the best economics departments in the state. They have very small classes. You're going to get the attention that you want from that small college. So we're going to give this a 3. But it is about 300 miles from home. So you could probably get home on the weekend, but it's not something that is easy for you to get to without some effort. So we're going to give that a 2. All right, now Elite University. This is you're not getting any help here. You're going to be paying all of that. So we're going to give this a 1. High quality education. Elite University has your favorite Nobel Prize winning economists teaching classes. This is amazing here. So again, we're going to give that a 3. And it is about 2,000 miles from home on the other coast. So this is the farthest away. So now we've evaluated our criteria. And again, students get this information from a reading, or you can talk this through so they understand how this works, right? Now we've evaluated the alternatives, and what we're going to do is we're going to add up these numbers. So we have a 7, and we have a 5. So what happens now? I've added these up, and we have 2 that are the same, Big City U and small private university. Well, remember I said with the cost benefit analysis, the T grid, that sometimes some criteria or some benefit or cost weighs more than others, right? So what you want to do is and I just want to move it. What if one criteria is more important than the others? So talking to your friend, she has said that high quality education is the most important thing in her list of criteria. So what we're going to do is we're going to double those numbers. We're going to give it a higher weight, right? So when we double those numbers, Big City U ends up as a 4. We double small private college to 6, and we double the 3 at Elite U to 6. And then we add them up again. So now we have 9, 10, and 8. And here's where you can see that small private college now moves ahead of Big City U. Now, again, where your importance is and what you think is more important than others. For some students, or going through this in your head, you're like, oh no, for me, it would be low cost. I don't want to take out loans, right? Or it could be, no, for me, I want to stay closer to home. I can save money that way, right? But without having to pay to fly back for holidays and vacation. So again, it's dependent on where, it is so subjective. The numbers are subjective. The criteria is subjective. Grading this is, you're not going to be able to have everybody should have the same numbers and everything else. It's about the process, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. So now we have our problem, we have our alternatives, we have our criteria. We have evaluated that criteria. That's our E, and now we need to make a decision. So, making a decision. what should the student do? And what should your friend do? So here's where I want you to drop the poll in for me. Okay, so which college would you choose? Big City U, Elite U, and small private college. So go ahead and take that poll. And realize I said, which would you choose, right? So your criteria might be a little bit different, or your numbers might be a little bit different. And that's okay. Okay, so take another 5 or 10 seconds, make a choice. See, all kinds of choices you're making today. And Natalie, if you want to go ahead and we can see what our results are. Okay, so going with the grid, but not by much, right? So 10 people. Oh, it looks like 12 of you, about half, are saying go with small private college. Some of you are saying Big City U. Got one person that went because of that. It's either because it's really far away from home, or you want that Nobel Prize winning economist to be teaching your class. Right? Excellent. And this is the key here, because what if your friend, we see it says 10, and she's like, you know what? I don't think that's right. That's okay. It's okay to make a decision that doesn't go with the numbers, because you took the time to think about the criteria. You took the time to weigh those costs and benefits of each one of your alternatives. You went through the process. And probably what's happening is that there might be more criteria that you didn't think about, right? Whether it's uh, is it a party school? Does it have a good football team? I'm trying to think of some other criteria that might be important. Did your parents go there? Right? Um, does your community college credits transfer to this college? So there could be other criteria that you might not consider until you sit down, stop, and work through this decision. So, and again, what was my opportunity cost? What was given up when I made my choice? So for this student, if she chose small private college, her opportunity cost would be the chance to go to Big City U. So whatever you made as your first choice, think about what was your backup choice? What was your second choice? That's your opportunity cost. And again, sometimes that can help you as well, trying to make that decision about what to do and where to go with your decision. So again, opportunity cost is crucial. What is given up? What is my opportunity cost? And that's an important step here. I was just working with an educator that uses a 7-part decision-making skill. And that the last one of them is to look at the opportunity cost, right, as part of that decision-making. I like the 5. It works better with paste. But still, part of your making that decision is thinking about what you've given up. So what are some teaching tips, and how do you use this in your class? So you want to have students determine criteria in groups or decide as a class. If you're going to have a group discussion, or a whole class discussion, it's really going to help if everyone has the same criteria. So this would mean that you would brainstorm what's most important to you, or what students think is most important to making this decision, and then come to a consensus on the top 3 or 4 before you start doing the cost benefit analysis and making the numbers, right? So that way you're not comparing apples to oranges. But you can also have students determine criteria, and when they get into groups, to talk about what they think and have decided as a group what's important. And then that can also make a really good class discussion of why is this group's criteria different from that group's, right? But again, make that decision before you start about where you want this to go. And if this is something you send home, if it's, what car do I want to buy? And you're doing this as a homework assignment, then each individual student will have something different, right? Safety, gas mileage, how cool it looks, right? All of those things might be different. When writing criteria, make sure the word is positive, what you want instead of what you don't want. So when we were doing this with the college example, we put low cost. That's what we want. We didn't put not expensive, right? Because if it's not expensive, you want it, or it's too expensive, giving that a low number, it becomes more complicated. So you want to make everything positive so that the high number is the best and the low number is the worst. Okay. What you want instead of what you don't want. Don't forget the opportunity cost. And then when grading, there's no right or wrong answer here. Turn this in, again, just like with the cost benefit analysis T-grid, turn it into a writing prompt and have students defend their answers instead. It's about the process. It's about thinking through their decisions and coming, and then this makes a really great writing prompt where you have to argue your case, or an exit slip. What this is, and especially if you're doing this in a group, because if you're doing this in a group, you might have a student that was just like, yeah, my group is crazy, and there's no way I would agree with them. Well, here's where they get to put it into the writing prompt of what decision you made and why. Why would you have made a different decision for your group? What criteria was more important than the others? It's about that process. So here's a teaching tip. The lesson that the college comes from a curriculum called Financial Fitness for Life. You're going to get the link to where you can go and get that lesson for free on Econ Ed Link, along with some other materials in those links. But in the lesson, and you're going to see this in other other lessons that use decision-making grids, whether that's on Econ Ed Link or someplace else, they're going to use pluses and minuses. That makes me absolutely crazy, because plus plus, minus minus, then you've got to change the pluses to numbers, because plus is, if you've got 1 plus, then that's a 1. If you got 2 pluses, then that's a 2, and then a -1 and a -2. No, just make it a number. It just makes the whole process simpler to use. And it also gives you more than 4 choices. If you want to get that nuance, you can make it a 1 out of 10. If we had done 1 out of 10 for our college, right, we probably would have made Big City U a higher number than private college, because what if scholarships aren't continued every year, right? So that becomes more nuanced, with a larger spread. I was just using that 3 to 1 as a good example to get started with. So don't use pluses and minuses. Don't make yourself crazy. Don't confuse your students. Just put a number there instead. That is the pluses and minuses. Don't do that. You should put a big Ghostbusters no pluses or minuses sign through there. So what are some content examples that you could use for a decision-making model? Which apartment should I rent? right? Once you're out of school, you want to move out. What apartment? So you've got 3 or 4 apartments, and then you're looking at having students go in and take a look online. What apartments are for rent in the city that they want to live in? Maybe they want to go to Atlanta. Maybe they want to move to New York City. Maybe they want to move to St. Louis. Or I think I saw somebody that was from Guam. Why not, right? But then having them take a look at what a 1-bedroom apartment costs, and then what are some of those things? Can I afford it? Yes, right? Does it have the right number of bedrooms? Is it in the right location? Can I walk to um mass transit, right? What are the costs and benefits of different forms of business organizations? I have a bias to this because this is like the least favorite thing that I teach is business organizations, right? Sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation. You can do a cost benefit decision-making model here with those business organizations. And instead of having students list all of the different uh, um, qualifications and characteristics. What car should I buy? Right? Where should I invest my money? So again, remember that these are not yes or no questions. These are questions where there's more than one alternative. Um, the first time I saw a decision-making model being used was when I started at Old Dominion, and the director of the center there, my mentor, Martha Hoffler, I was sitting in on one of her economics classes, basically a freshman econ class, and this is one of the first activities she did, even though it was econ and not personal finance. And she said to the class that she used a PACE decision-making model when she was diagnosed with cancer on what treatment to get, and that she carried that piece of paper in her wallet still. So this can be something that is life-changing, or it can be, where should I go on vacation? But I think that stopping to consider all the possible criteria and making those good rational decisions because you've weighed the cost and benefits is such an important life skill. There was also one a little bit later on. Um, I was doing this in a group, and we did the lesson, an example, and then the facilitator said, it was a bunch of adults, we were teachers, go ahead, get into groups and solve someone's problem. And I think we did, what vacation should I go on for one person? And one of the other groups, there was a young woman, and they decided her her problem was, who should I marry? Because she was in love with 3 different men. And I was just like, oh, like, lucky you, or maybe not, I'm not sure. But again, sometimes it can be, I think some of that was a little tongue in cheek. It was like rich older guy, starving artist, best friend, or something like that, right? So different ways you can do this. As if you're any social studies people in here, any historical decision um, works. Looking in the past, if you're teaching government, we've got elections coming up. Who should I vote for? Right? Works. So this is when you go to the Econ Ed link, this is a Word document. And so that way you have it all there on one piece of paper for your students. State the problem. It gives you paste so they don't have to remember it, especially as you're looking at this. And then I've got the 3210 here, but you can change those numbers. That's why it's a Word document. It's not a PDF. You can change those numbers. You can also add more alternatives. You can add more or less criteria. And then you've got the decision and a reminder about the opportunity cost there. So this is a really nice one-pager that you can use and adjust however you need to, because you can change the table for however you need, depending on how many alternatives you want students to use, how many criteria, and everything else. So again, this is going to be on the Econ Ed link website. It's free to download, and then you can make changes however you need to. So, before I go into CEE's resources, does anyone have a question about um, anything that I've talked about? I'll put the PACE decision grid back up. If you have a question, you can put it in chat. Who to take to the next dance? There you go.
Yeah, we don't have any questions yet, but we've had lots of great comments, and it's just such a practical tool, like you said, for applying to any choice, even if you don't end up making that specific choice, it's the process.
It's exactly right. It is. It's all about the process. You do not have to do what it tells you to do, right? It seems like, well, then I wasted my time, but no, you didn't, because you took that time to think about all the possibilities. One of the things that we talk about is unintended consequences of decisions that are made. And the more information you have, the less unintended consequences show up, with Eleanor Roosevelt talking about the choices we make in the past affect our future.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a Diana that actually just dropped a question in. She said, "Do you have any example ideas, I'm assuming, for upper elementary students? I was thinking about what type of dog or pet to get." And that's fun.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, great. Yes. So, going back to econedlink.org, and actually you can, Natalie, this is a good time to throw those links in there. You can sort by grade level, but there is a lesson. It's called Which Pet Should I Get? It uses a simpler um, PACE decision grid for that's made specifically for elementary students, and it's based on the Dr. Seuss book, Which Pet Should I, where he's buying a pet, or the story is about purchasing a pet. So yeah, so buying a pet. You can do this for a decision that your class wants to make. What movie should I watch on Fun Friday, right? What game should we play out on the out in the playground for recess? you know um it can also help you with decision making for children's literature stories, right? Because there's almost every story has a choice where the main character has to make a choice. Going back, I talked to one of the first things is, give a mouse a cookie, right? Then he's going to have to make a choice. What choice is the mouse making, and what are the costs and benefits of him needing a glass of milk, right? So any children's literature book where the character has to make a choice, whip out that cost benefit analysis T grid and look at the pros and cons. Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday, Beatrice's Goat. There's a really good decision grid that I created a lesson for Sam and the Lucky. I think it's Sam and the Lucky Money. Yeah, I think that's the name of the book off the top of my head, where Sam gets some lucky money for Chinese New Year, and he has to make a decision about how to spend that money. And there's a whole bunch of choices that he has as he moves along in the story. So yeah, that's great. And definitely look for those elementary level decision making lessons that we have on EconEdLink. Any other questions?
I think that's it. I'm sure everyone's just taking notes.
All righty, so let's go ahead and take a look at resources and programs. So CEE, the Council for Economic Education, our vision is to help teachers reach every student, helping them connect themselves to our community and our families through personal finance and economic education, and make better decisions for themselves. We have professional development. We do free webinars, and we have our annual conference, which we will talk about in a second. We have free webinars, free online resources that I've been talking about all the way through. Everything on EconEdLink is free. We also do have some publications for sale, but almost everything we have is free online. And there's econedlink.org. That's the website that is our flagship. Business to math to econ to social studies, K-12 resources. Oh, Okay, that's what I set that up to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and share, because I've had it online. So this is econedlink.org. There's decision making and opportunity cost there. And if you go to classroom resources, you can go to basic econ concepts, which is right here. But for decision making, I'm going to ask you to browse by topic. Right? Because there's economics and personal finance and children's literature. But here we go. Teaching the fundamentals of scarcity, opportunity cost, and decision making for high school. So we have 16 lessons there for middle school and then for elementary school. So how did I get there? I'm on the main Econ Ed link. Let me go back. I go to classroom resources. I go to browse by topic. And then I just can scroll down the collections. Got some really good ethics and economics and social issues that also use a lot of decision making as well. So let me head back now to my PowerPoint. So we also have programs for students, and I know I'm running out of time now. The National Personal Finance Challenge, again, is free for students to enter. We have an econ challenge as well. And then we have a program called Investing Girls. And the Investing Girls program is looking to specifically enable and enrich and create the next generation of financially literate girls. So we've got some personal finance competitions for students, econ challenges, also competition that's free, and Investing Girls program is an after school program and webinars that are free as well. And then here's our conference. So we are going to be in New Orleans, October 17th and 18th. And Natalie, you want to put a plug in for Banzai here?
Yes, Banzai will be having a booth at the conference. We went last year. We loved it. I believe we are booth number 9. If you were going to be there, please come say hi to us. We would love to meet you.
Yeah, stop by, get some good Banzai swag while you're there. And
Yeah,
and
we
it's
have
in
fun swag and
Florida.
it goes quick.
That's right. You better get there early. Get there early. Awesome. So yeah, so 2 full days. We have a personal finance track. We have an elementary track specifically for elementary school teachers, economics track. We have 45 sessions over 3 days, including some keynote speakers of Jacob Clifford, if anybody's an econ person, and Mr. Clifford's going to be there. The Budgetista is doing our keynote speaker on Saturday morning, talking about personal finance, and Dialect from Pockets Change is going to be our MC as well. So thanks so much. And where am I?
Perfect. Yeah,
Look
here,
at
I'll
that,
take over just
5:58. I got 2 minutes.
Yes, I love that. Let me just go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks again, Ruth, so much for coming. This page here is just if you haven't signed up yet for a free Banzai account, teacher account, or you need a demo, the QR code will take you there. This is just a reminder. This is kind of the booth to look for if you go to CEE.
Nice.
There's our Brandon, our marketing manager. Lots of fun. We have a great time. Reminder that you could turn in a certificate for free PD credit if you'd like. That should come to your email after this webinar. Give us about 24 hours. And then I just wanted to plug October's webinar, Tuesday, October 14th, From Awareness to Action, Empowering Students to Create Safer Schools. We're going to be having Blair Friedman she's the Senior Director of Business Development and Educational Partnerships at Sandy Hook Promise. And we'll be talking about their resources for Safe Schools Week, as well as some digital citizenship resources that we have in our Banzai library. Please follow us on social media. We have really fun teacher giveaways and contests. And we just thank you so much for your time. Have a